Hey guys, so I just thought I would jump on and do a bit of a video to explain what I do with the role-playing gaming that I do every fortnight, and just a bit about all the characters and stuff that I've developed, because I'm in my third campaign, so I've got 3 characters that I've done so far, all of which hopefully I will be able to make a cosplay of at some stage. My first one I do have somewhat in progress. So yeah, I want to try and bring those characters to life in cosplay as well at some point in time. But yeah, so I'll get into the questions. But hopefully I'll be able to make a series of this going through our other party members and talking to our GM as well, just to get an idea of how the campaigns and all that get put together. But I'll start off with the questions that I've written down, all the things that I want to address in terms of my characters and things like that. So obviously the first reason is what do I enjoy about roleplay gaming, and why do I do it? So I originally started doing it because I need to get out of my own head in terms of cosplay, because for me to get into the characters that I cosplay, I need to be out of my own head and not think like me, which is one of the biggest things when I first started cosplaying that I found. So that was one of the reasons, and it's just fun, and I'm a nerd, and I love fantasy movies and all that kind of stuff, so it was kind of just another way that I can express my enjoyment of that genre of things. And a lot of my characters are based on stuff from pop culture and fantasy things and all that kind of stuff. So that's where I draw a lot of my inspiration from, those kinds of things. So I've always got something I can kind of fall back to with my characters and stuff like that. So that's basically the reasons why I do it. It's a whole bunch of fun, and it's a different kind of thing. Like cosplay is fun, and you get to get fully, be in costume of the characters and things like that. Whereas the role playing is more getting inside the head of the character and that kind of thing. So it's a bit different, but it's still, I still find it just as fun as cosplaying. So it's definitely something I still want to do, and I've been doing it for, I think, close to 2 years now. So definitely got a long way to go in terms of my character development and all that kind of stuff. But in terms of the characters I've done so far, so as I said before, I've got 3 characters that I've built. My first one was a all-out angsty fighter. As you can see with my shirt, that's generally kind of the direction that I go with my characters. It's my preferred class. I just find it easier than being the chatty one. I find hitting stuff is more fun. Which is basically what Lash, my first character, was based around. It was a pure angsty, I want to hit things, let me hit things. No, don't worry about talking and negotiating, I'm just going to hit things. And she did have a lot of fun doing that, and it was a fun one for me to have as my first character, purely because it gave me a chance. At that time, the characters that I was cosplaying, it was very much their personality. So I was doing a lot of Vegeta at that time, so a lot of her personality came from him, and a lot of the surprise attacks and stuff came from Death the Kid, Black Star from Soul Eater. So I kind of mashed those two together and created Lash, and gave her talking Diaclaves that she uses weapons, and she ended up getting a big axe that was a family heirloom, and she ended up having a lot of weaponry that she could just hit things with, and which was her primary thing. And she managed to take back her hometown, and to kind of try and defeat her sister and all that kind of stuff. So it was a really good character to start off with. I'm really happy that I started off with her as my first character. And with our D&D, we don't do a typical Dungeons and Dragons. We play Exalted, so it's a slightly different mechanic to the standard D&D. So we can get a little bit more experimentative, a little bit more creative with our characters and the stunts that we do and things like that. And so our cases are a bit different. So like she was a Dawn case, so when she got to a certain level of XP essence that she spent, she would light up like the sun and
be able to
intimidate pretty much anything. And her biggest thing was intimidating the hell out of people. She was a very intimidating character, which is where once again the Vegeta characteristics came into play, because he's very much, I'm the prince and I'm I lord over everything. And yeah, so that was her. She was very Nordic style as well, because she was from the northern part of the world. So yeah, so that was Lash. I do have a basic cosplay of her in the works. I need to kind of go revisit that and work on that a bit more. And the second campaign we had, it was a social campaign, which is probably with me having a lot of kind of a bit introverted in some aspects. It was a bit of a challenge because it required talking a lot. So rather than doing the talky character, I went with my typical style and I went with an assassin. And he was a sneaky assassin, and I named him Silas, and he was very difficult to portray, purely because I put too much of myself in there, because of the kind of character that he was very much doesn't speak to people, kind of just wants to get the information and, do his own thing. It was kind of I put a little bit too much of myself in that one, and so that was a bit of a challenge, but it was still fun. Unfortunately, we had to cut that campaign short, or put it on hiatus, so hopefully I'll be able to revisit him and explore him a bit better, because I've had some goals in mind for him, which I haven't had a chance to get around to, so hopefully there'll be a campaign where I can bring him back down the line. But yeah, that was a very different style campaign to play, because it wasn't so much combat heavy as you talk things out, and with being in the mindset of Lash and then going to someone that has to try and interrogate people and talk, I struggled with that. But that's part of the growth of when you're a new player to the game, is you get to learn different aspects to it and different style of gaming and all that kind of stuff. So Silas was based on, I can't remember off the top of my head what it was based
Green
on.
Arrow-ish.
Yeah, it was kind of like a vigilante. He was more of a vigilante style. Like, I was channeling a bit of, Arrow, and a bit how he's, always in the dark, and the League of Assassins, because I'm, a bit of a Arrow fan, so I kind of drew from that whole League of Assassins, Malcolm Merlin, all that kind of, Ra's al Ghul, all that kind of stuff. His own goal was kind of more going in the lines of Ra's al Ghul. So hopefully I'll be able to, get him back out in another campaign and fix that and finish him off in terms of, the growth of where I wanted to take him.
Go more into what they look like too, but like Lash's armor and stuff.
Yeah, so in terms of, as I was saying, before, like with Lash, like she was very Nordic, so but she had very intricate things, like funny little things.
Snow White shoulders that never went away.
She had red and white hair. Well, the red was because of her family her backstory, which is pretty graphic.
It was a tragic.
It was a very tragic kind of backstory. So the blood in her hair is a resemblance from that. She also had a giant bear.
Polar bear.
polar bear named Snow, who was absolutely amazing and used to jump in the fight with her. And if she went down, he would be very concerned and wouldn't leave her side. And
her armor as well.
And yeah, her armor that she got in the end had snow that was always falling on it because she's from the north.
Even no matter where she was.
So she always had a part of the north with her. So yeah, it was. I really enjoyed that build that I got out of Lash, and Silas was very, the very typical sneaky assassin. League of Assassins, very black, very sleek, stealthy, not too much in the way of armor. Like, it was very, close to the body kind of stuff, because obviously you don't want to be seen. He did get a really cool cloak that hid him in terms of smell and movement and like sound and everything, so that was really cool. And he had the ability to hide people from plain sight. So AJ's character, who I had to kind of protect, I ended up carrying his character around, which she did not like one bit, but he will go into that a bit more when he does his video about his characters. I don't want to go too much into what his one was, but that particular campaign, our characters did have a bit of involvement with each other in terms of I was a protection service for his character. And yeah, so and Silas is the only male character that I've done. I wanted to kind of branch out with when I did my second character and do a male. That was probably my other mistake that I did, because I can't think like a dude. And that was probably my biggest problem, was I had to keep thinking the opposite way to, how I would think, because guys think differently. And yeah, so hopefully I'll be able to revisit Silas, because there's a lot of things that I still want to achieve with him. And he was a night case, so he had the ability to hide his anima banner, which is what glows from us when we spend a certain amount of essence. So
you had to spend extra motes to hide it.
I actually had to spend extra motes to hide his anima banner, and whereas Lash's was glowing like the sun. And she did that quite often because she spent a lot of essence, because everything she wanted to hit, no matter what it was, she would not listen to reason. She was like, nope, my reason is hit. Yeah, so that was literally, I hit a lot of things and I did a lot of damage, and I'm sure the rest of my party members will be able to attest to what kind of character she was. She was fun. But yeah, Silas was more inspired by the whole League of Assassins and all that kind of stuff, and all typical stealth characters. My most recent one that I've done is Captain Serena the Butcher Blackmarsh, and she is a drunken pirate, and she is extremely based off Captain Jack Sparrow and Captain Barbossa from Pirates of the Caribbean. I've basically mashed the two of them together. I have a monkey named Puck, and he is pretty much like Jack from
more violent.
From Pirates of the Caribbean, but far more violent. The first time I saw him do anything, and when I had this monkey, I just thought it was a monkey that was going to sit on my shoulder and do nothing. And this is what happens when you let the GM have fun with things that follow you around. And we came downstairs from a meeting in the bar. This is in the first session, and I come down to him having 3 butter knives stuck into a guy's hand that's attached to the table, and he's beating the guy over the head with a mug. Like a stein, like the metal steins from like the old school days and stuff. Bashing him in the head with that, and I'm just like, what is wrong with this monkey? But yeah,
you got money out of it.
I got lots of money out of it. I got lots of money from him. He's great. He's the best thing. He's the best at looting. I have dots in larceny, so I can loot things, but my monkey can loot things quicker than what I think any of our party members can. He's amazing. And I actually have a little, because we've got minis. Like, we don't normally play with minis, but if it'll zoom in. Come on, focus. Why would you focus? There we go. So that is a mini, if it stays focused, because it probably won't, of Puck. And I've got a mini of my captain, of my little character. We don't play with minis, but I wanted a mini just for the hell of it. So she is always, always drunk, always unclean, because let's face it, she's a pirate. And she's got a really cool sword that will have a lot of abilities, which I'm not going to talk about in case the people in my party are watching this, because I don't want to go into too much detail about her, because I don't want to let too much cat out of the bag for that. But she's got a really cool sword that's got a lot of really cool stuff that she's going to be able to do. Hopefully when we get back out on the water and I get a ship, because I don't have a ship at the moment, because one of the major houses in the area decided to sink my ship. So I'm taking vengeance on them at the moment. Like in the last session for this character, myself and one of the other party members basically set half a town on fire.
And you killed 100 soldiers.
And we killed 100 soldiers. We killed lots of people. So, worth it, because we killed the people that my character wanted to kill. But we also killed civilians, which isn't so good. But it happens. But yeah, so there, and so she's very much, she's got a very ostentatious hat. It's pretty much a hat that's based off one of the characters from League of Legends, which off the top of my head I cannot remember her name. But it's got a massive feather in it, and it's just typical. She looks like a typical pirate. But yeah, her personality is very, very, very based around Jack Sparrow and Barbossa, because I love Pirates of the Caribbean. So yeah, they're the characters and kind of where they're drawn from. And with Serena, she's actually dragon-blooded, which is a completely different class to what I've played before. And they have their own little intricacies. So she's a water dragon-blooded, obviously, because she lives on the water, being a pirate. So they've got some own really cool abilities and stuff, which I'm still exploring, so I don't really know too much about.
The book's just been released.
But yeah, because the book's only just been released, so we don't know too much detail, but it's going to be fun to explore it. And yeah. But in terms of favourite moments in the campaign, the first campaign, there was a lot of favourite moments for me, particularly because it was my first campaign. So I pretty much was I enjoyed everything. Probably the biggest thing was when I had the opportunity to go back to my hometown and take on my sister and
become the Jarl.
And become the head of the town and kind of make a foothold in the north. It was kind of like Game of Thrones when, you take over when they take back the north and all that kind of thing. It was very much like that, and that made me very happy. That's probably the highlight of that campaign, was being able to do that and having that foothold in the world. Because unfortunately she didn't survive that campaign. But
there was some really good fights.
I had really good opportunities for stunts, and that's probably what I enjoyed the most, was just the ability to try things that I've seen in movies and stuff, and I'll see if this works. And that's pretty much where a lot of my stunt concepts come from, is things that I've seen in movies or video games, and so I just take a lot of inspiration on, will that actually work? And sometimes it does, and sometimes it falls on my head. So yeah, Lasha's definitely being able to take back what's hers, what she deserted originally, and reclaiming it. And that was kind of a bit of a saving grace to her backstory, because of how, disastrous it was, because she left because she got blackwashed by brainwashed by a guy that kidnapped her, and then she ended up killing her parents and leaving town because she exalted and she couldn't go back. So the fact that she managed to go back there and take hold of it was a massive part of her backstory that was a bit of a redemption. So that was probably my favorite part of that one. In terms of my social campaign with Silas, I'd have to say some of the stunts that he did was really, like, unexpected. Like, his stealth ability is so ridiculous that he could go through a window completely unnoticed and not break it.
Closed
window. Doesn't break the glass or anything, just turns up on the other side of it and no one notices him.
You're right in front of a guy too.
Right in front of someone, just doesn't notice. And, you know, so he was super stealthy, and that was the fun part of him, is being able just to have the ability to play Trickster if I wanted to. I didn't. I wanted to. There was very much moments where I wanted to play Trickster with the party, but we had too many other challenges that we were facing at the time that I couldn't play Trickster.
The relationship between him and his god as well was really good.
And he had an interesting thing, which I left out before, in terms of he has a cat that follows him around. Now, his cat wasn't just a mundane cat. Well, it wasn't his, but his cat just followed him around. And it actually was a god that followed him around.
And the god of mischief.
And it was a god of mischief. And yeah, it was a really fun thing because the GM had complete control over this cat. He had control of when it would turn up, where it would go away. If it decided to do something really, really annoying,
like peeing in the general's hat,
like knocking the general's hat off a table and then peeing in it,
and then,
which is one thing that he did,
and then disappearing when he tried to kick it.
And yeah, the cat just had its own mind and did its own thing thanks to our GM, and our GM was like, he's really good with the campaigns and he's really awesome with, like, you know, letting our characters kind of do what they want, but at the same time he will mess with us and turn things all which ways. So it's kind of fun. So that's probably my favourite moments. Well, hang on, there's obviously with the captain. At the moment, she is a very notorious person within the area that we're in.
She's
to the point where people get out of her way when they see her.
People thought she was dead.
Everyone thought when her ship went down that she died along with the ship. Clearly, she didn't. And now they're like, oh my god, she's back. And they're all absolutely petrified of me, and it's amazing. My character has a ridiculous amount of notoriety in the area, and it's not good. It's very much in the bad aspects, not in the good way.
You made a big kerfuffle at the docks.
I made a big scene at the docks in the last session.
Not doing anything, just by walking along the docks.
And I found it rather fascinating because I was doing nothing but just walking along, just having a casual walk along the docks. And apparently everyone's petrified of me. Which as a pirate, I guess is a good thing that she's not liked. But also it means that, you know, I'm putting the party in danger by being, you know, a massive focal point, because I feel sorry for them, but, you know,
they tend to send soldiers to where you are.
They tend to follow me around a lot. Yeah, so it's going to be interesting to see how she plays out in the next few sessions and the rest of the campaign. But that was probably my favourite moment from the current campaign. But yeah, in terms of, like, challenges that I've had with the characters, Lash wasn't that much of a difficult character to play. It was more kind of just trying to rein in the angst and know when is the right time to hit things or when I should just shut up and just let other people that are more able to handle the situation handle it, which did happen sometimes, and sometimes I'm like, no. And the other thing that she didn't like was people running away from a fight. She didn't tolerate that very well. So, you know, one of our party members used to, like, kind of hang back a bit, and that kind of annoyed her. And, you know, she didn't get her moment to go, what's this? Why you call this a fighter? Go get in a fight. She didn't get a chance to do that. She wanted to, but she didn't get a chance. But wasn't a challenging one. It was just more she had to kind of rein in some of her angst sometimes, and just know when to be tactful. But Silas was a humongous challenge for me, not only because it was a male character, but I put way too much of my own personality in there. I made him he was a very complicated personality, and he had a lot of my flaws that I put into him because I wanted to see what happens. I learned, don't put your personality into a character.
Too much.
It makes it really, really hard to get into the character because you still get stuck in your own mindset. He had a thing where if a plan wasn't in place, it'd drive him nuts. And that's something that's a flaw on me. Like, that's something that I know is a thing with me. If there's not a plan in place, I don't know what to do. It's, kind of had a bit of I'll have a freak out about it because everything needs to be organised. And that kind of was a bit of a ticker on him. Because not always when we went into a battle would we have like a plan in place. We tried, but sometimes plans don't necessarily go the way that you want it to.
Sometimes Sal just does stuff.
Yep, sometimes our main fighter character would just go and do something because he thought it'd be a great idea. But yeah, so that was probably the biggest challenge for him. I don't know if I'll do another male character, but if I do, I'll make it far more simpler than what I did. Because, yeah, he was way too complicated. That was probably my biggest challenge with him, as I went from having a really simple fighter to having a ridiculously complex assassin.
Sociopath.
There was a sociopath and literally was going insane very slowly. And the more I think he was going to go through that campaign, the more he was going to become more crazy. Mind you, this is also having someone in the party that could talk to a wall or a chair or just anything.
The dirt.
And would get really irritated if it wouldn't talk back. So that was kind of spiraling his insanity because he couldn't understand why this ability to talk to an inanimate object. So that was another challenge that I had was, having someone that had another kind of weird personality kind of thing that they had to deal with. But yeah, that's some base, and so far I haven't had one for my captain, my pirate. There's a lot of things that I find hilarious, like the fact that she's just got this amazing monkey that can do pretty much anything that she can do, but he's a monkey. And so it's not really a challenge, it's more I've just been able to just sit back and really enjoy the character, and I've got an endless bottle of flask, but I still steal bottles because I can. I'm a klepto. So she hasn't been too challenging so far, but I know there's going to be some sort of challenge that the GM is going to throw at us, especially now because I know he's going to be watching this video and he's going to particularly make something difficult for me because he knows that I'm finding it not challenging enough, so he's going to throw a curveball at me. But yeah, so that's probably challenges and stuff. But in terms of and this is the thing with these campaigns, sometimes they can go for a really, really long time, sometimes they can be really, really short. So you sometimes can get like a really strong emotional connection to a character. I did get a very, very strong emotional connection to Lash purely because I think the count by the end of the campaign was she nearly died about 5 times. The first of which was in the first session that I was in. Thanks to someone
with a fire wand shooting you.
Yeah, someone shooting me with a fire wand, and I got a big giant hole in my chest. So that was, her being the fighter and being the typical fighter that she was. I think it was after I recovered from that first injury, they're like, you're putting armor on.
Well, you had light armor to start
I had
with.
light armor, but they're like, you need heavier armor. Because you're just going to keep dying. And I'm like, oh, I'm fine. This is just a battle wound. This is nothing kind of thing. But I'm glad in the end that I did take the heavy set armor because I think she kind of needed it. But I was very connected to her, not only because it was my first character, but there was a lot of things that I came up with on the fly while during the campaign. So there was a lot of growth on my part, and I grew a lot as a player because of her character as well. Silas, I kind of had the emotional connection to purely because came out of my own brain. It was the first one that every single aspect of the character was developed by me. The first time, because I had no idea what I was doing, I had a lot of assistance from AJ and from like our GM, and in terms of how to build it and whether I was, I was going too OP in some aspects or not enough. But Silas was something that was completely developed out of my own brain, which was very scary when I saw it on paper, because it makes you question your own mental sanity in some aspects. But so it's probably the most emotional connection I would have to him is the fact that it was the first one I completely crafted on my own and worked out what charms I wanted, what all that kind of stuff, all the finer details. And the captain is, once again, it is one that I've come up with myself, but I think I've got the most emotional I've got a connection with her emotionally because she kind of is the one that's let me get out of my head the most. Because it's just a character I can just have fun with. I don't have to focus on like too many things. Like she's just she's very chill. She'll jump in on a fight, but at the same time she's happy to sit back and drink and, watch everyone else fight as well. Because, she's a pirate and, sometimes she just, being a captain, she doesn't have to necessarily get into the thick of the fight. But yeah, so that's emotionally, like, you do get attached to the characters the longer it goes for. Unfortunately, Silas I didn't get as much of an emotional connection to him as I would have liked because the campaign was a bit shorter. And we're only a couple of sessions into the captain, so I'm sure I'll get a stronger connection as the time goes on with that. But yeah, as I was saying before, like personality going into it, Silas is probably the one that had the most personality aspects because of like the obsession with planning, and there's a few other things that were flaws that he had that were kind of based on my personality, which is, as I said before, a big mistake. But Lash wasn't so much. I don't think there was any like personality that I put into her particularly. It was probably more an aspect of what I would want to see myself as if I was in that kind of character. In terms of like, I'd love to be, the person that can get out there and have a fight and all that kind of stuff, because
she was very proud as well.
She was very proud. I'm a bit more of a timid kind of person, and if I'm proud, I don't really show it. So she was kind of like a bit of a, what I would like my personality to be in some aspects. And the captain is just, I don't think there's any of my personality in her at all. Which is, something, which is obviously,
she's got a carefree attitude.
She's got a much more stronger carefree attitude, but after putting so much of myself in Silas, I kind of wanted to make sure I didn't put so much of it this time round. But yeah, that's just basically what the, kind of like the rundown on my characters. Because of the way that our campaign runs and the likelihood of, because of how, outlandish we are when we come to fighting, and especially the fact that, we've got a town on fire. We try to always have like a backup idea for a character. God forbid our character dies before the campaign ends, which has happened in some cases. We've had to have another character come in for someone because the character's died for whatever reason. So I am working on a couple of ideas that I want to have, and the two that I'm working on are very firmly based on World of Warcraft. One of them is going to be kind of a banshee kind of thing, which is very heavily based on Sylvanas. and the other one I'm going to have a blind kind of possibly have some sort of demonic influence on him, which is going to be very based on Illidan. I just like them aesthetically, and I think they've got really both individually got very strong personality. So I am doing a character based on that. I think would be a lot of fun, and especially with Illidan, like exploring the idea of, you know, him working out he can fly because if obviously he can't see, so him not having functioning wings originally, and then, you know, working to that way of getting wings, I think would work really well. I don't know if it's going to end up fitting into this campaign given what the style of all our characters are. I'll probably have to come up with some sort of other concept to fit in with the party, but I definitely want to portray both of those characters at some stage, because I just think having like that kind of bureaucratic banshee kind of strong woman figure would be amazing. And I would definitely have to do my blind demonic kind of Illidan style. I think that's going to have to be a male as he is, because aesthetically it just looks amazing. But yeah, I'll leave it there. So hopefully there'll be some other videos coming through in the not too distant future from AJ on his characters and from our GM and the other party members, and you'll be able to get more of an insight of what we do every fortnight. For those that don't know, standard form of Dungeons and Dragons, they use like D20s and a whole range of other dice. We just use these guys. We just use the D10s. These are actually my dice that I use for Silas. I used for Silas, which I am sometimes using for the captain. Sometimes I'm using my other dice, which live in my little dice box, which I got from PAX. But yeah, so I will leave it there, and hopefully you've enjoyed this video and it's given you a bit more of an insight to what I do when I'm not doing cosplay. And if you guys have any questions about my characters or anything like that, put a comment in the below. I'll put all my links to my social media and all that kind of stuff in below as well. And hope to see you guys in the next video.